Okay, so we have practiced how to take slope-intercept form from a graph, standard form from a graph. Now we're going to learn how to take point-slope form from a graph. So in order to do this, because they could ask you to just, what is the point-slope form of a graph, we have to know how to pull it from a graph and write it into that equation. So think about what point-slope form is. Point-slope form is a point and the slope. So from each graph, we're going to pull a point and the slope from that graph. Just remember, whenever we use point slope, when we substitute in that point, we do the opposite, okay? Yes, I know this says minus, minus, but we have to remember that it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be minus, minus every time. It's the opposite of what that point is. So let me clarify. Let's do number 1, okay? So first we're going to pick a point. Now notice they did give me 2 points here. It really comes down to which point you prefer and which point you really are confident in writing that coordinate as. So I'm going to pick something that's not on the x or y axis. So I'm going to pick this point right here. And this point is 1, -2. Okay, all I've done is pull that ordered pair off the graph. Now we are going to find the slope, which we've already done, and how we find the slope is rise over run. Okay, so I teach my kids, if I start at the top of that point and draw a straight line going down, okay, I make that capital L, and I count how long the sides are. So this is 1, 2, 3, this is 1. And rise over run tells me 3 over 1. When I type that in my calculator and I see what it simplifies to, it simplifies to 3. Now look at the direction of the line, okay? My right arrow is pointed down, so it's -3. It's a down slope, so it's -3. Now we're going to take my point and my slope and put it into my point slope formula like we've done before. So y, if 1 is x and -2 is y, what is the opposite of y? Well, the opposite of -2 is +2, so y plus 2 equals the slope, which we said is -3, parentheses x, and then we have our x coordinate right here, and it's +1. Well, the opposite of +1 is -1, so we write -1. So that's what I mean by opposite. So technically they could stop us here, and this is our equation if they want it in point slope form. But now we're going to take this and put it into slope intercept form. So what I do first is I distribute. So y plus 2 equals -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -1 is +3. Then I subtract 2 to get y by itself. So y equals -3x, and +3 minus 2 is +1. Now, I could have gotten the same exact answer if I had used my other coordinate, but my point slope formula would have been a little different. But we should have still ended up with the answer -3x plus 1. Okay, so number 2. Here, I want to first find a point. So I could use 1, 1, or I can use 2, 4. Either one will be correct. It honestly comes down to if it was a multiple choice question, they could ask for either. So you have to be comfortable with using either. But let's say I want to use 1, 1. Okay. Actually, I'm going to use, 1, 1. Why not? So then we want to find the slope. So remember, I put my pencil on the highest point. I draw a straight line going down and make that L. So then I count how long the sides are. 1, 2, 3 going up and down, 1 going across. Slope is rise over run, so it's 3 over 1 here. And we already saw this on the last question, so 3 over 1 simplifies to 3. This time my line is going upwards, so it is a positive slope, so +3. Now we're going to take this and put it into my point slope equation. So y, this is x, this is y. So the opposite of +1 is to subtract 1, equals my slope, which is 3. Parentheses x, and the opposite of +1 is -1 again. So they could ask us to stop here and just find the point slope formula, or they could ask us to take this and convert it to slope intercept form. So we are going to distribute first. Y minus 1 equals 3 times x, which is 3x. 3 times -1 is -3. Then I add 1. So y equals 3x. Negative 3 plus 1 is minus 2. Okay. All right. Next one, number 3. Pull a point and the slope. So the point, again, I want to try and stay away from the x and y axis. If you use it, it's not the end of the world either. But I'm going to use 3, 2 as my coordinate. And then my slope, if I draw my L, is 1 and 3. This time my slope is rise over run, so 1 over 3, which if I type that in my calculator, simplifies to 1 over 3. So it doesn't change. But my slope is going downward, so it is negative 1 over 3. Okay. Now I'm going to take this into my point slope equation, point slope formula. So y, the opposite of positive 2 is minus 2, equals the slope, negative 1/3, parentheses x, and then the x, the opposite of positive 3 is minus 3. Then I'm going to distribute y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times negative 3 is positive 1. Then I'm going to add 2. So y equals negative 1/3 x. 1 plus 2 is positive 3. Okay. So let's do the same thing with just more practice. All right. So first on number 4, we're going to find a point. Again, I want to try and stay away from any points that are on the x and y axis. So I'm going to use this point right here. And this coordinate is 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. Then my slope, if I draw my L, is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slope is rise over run, so 1 over 4. If I type that in my calculator to see if it simplifies, it does not. It stays 1 over 4. But this line is going down, so it is a negative 1 over 4. Then I type this or converted it into point slope form. So y, the opposite of positive 3 is minus 3, equals the slope, negative 1/4, parentheses x, and the opposite of positive 4 is minus 4. Again, they could ask us to stop right here, or they could ask us to solve for slope-intercept form. So y minus 3 equals negative 1/4 times x is negative 1/4 x. Negative 1/4 times negative 4 is plus 1. Then I add 3 to both sides, so y equals negative 1/4 x. 1 plus 3 is positive 4. Okay. Number 5, I have 2 points to choose from here. I'm going to try this point down here. So if my coordinate there is 2, negative 2. Okay, and my slope is when I connect my 2 points by drawing that L, is 1, 2, 3, and 1. 3 over 1 because it's rise over run. 3 over 1 simplifies to 3. And this is a positive slope because it's going upward. So positive 3. When I put it in my point slope form, y, the opposite of negative 2 is to add 2, equals my slope, 3, parentheses x, the opposite of positive 2 is minus 2. Okay. And then I distribute, so y plus 2 equals 3 times x is 3x, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, minus 2 to both sides, so y equals 3x, negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8, or minus 8. Okay, one last one as in this type, so number 6. I have 2 points to choose from. I'm going to go and choose this one, try something different. So this is negative 5, negative 4. Okay, and then my slope, when I connect my 2 points drawing that L, is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rise over run is 3 over 6, which simplifies, when I type that in, simplifies to 1/2. It is a positive slope because it's going upward, so positive 1/2. Then I put that in point slope form, so y, the opposite of negative 4 is to add 4. The slope is 1/2, parentheses x, and the opposite of negative 5 is positive 5, so plus 5. They could ask me to stop there, or they could ask me to solve for slope-intercept form, so we're going to distribute. Did I do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah. Now distribute, so y plus 4 equals 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1/2 times 5 ends up being a fraction. It ends up being 5/2. Okay. Then I'm going to subtract 4. So y equals 1/2 x. And then 5/2 minus 4 is negative 3/2. So minus 3/2. So that one didn't come out so pretty, but it's still the same answer. So we are going to work the reverse, and we are going to learn how to graph using point-slope form. We haven't practiced this yet. We've graphed using slope-intercept form, and then we've graphed using standard form, but now we're going to graph using point-slope form. So just remember, when we pull the slope out of the point-slope form and the point out of the point-slope form, when we pull that ordered pair, we need to make sure that we pull out the opposite. Okay, just like when we put them in, we put the opposite. We have to pull them out as the opposite. So let's look at example 1. Okay, first things first, let's see if we can identify the slope. Well, in point slope form, my slope is what's outside the parentheses. So my slope is negative 3. Easy. Okay, my coordinate is what's next to the x and the y. Okay, x goes first, but I have to remember to pull out the opposite. So since I see positive 2, it actually ends up being negative 2. And since I see positive 4, it ends up being negative 4. So when I pull that coordinate out, make sure to do the opposite. Okay. Now we are going to graph using my slope and my point. Okay. But I have to start with my point, because I have to have a starting point. So negative 2, negative 4 is left 2, down 4. Now I'm going to graph the rest of my points by using the slope. So since my slope is negative 3, remember I have to make it a fraction. To make negative 3 a fraction, we just put it over 1, so nothing too fancy. What this means is I'm going to do down 3, right 1, like we've seen before. So here, if I go down 3, I get off the page, so it's kind of right there. Then I have to go to the opposite, so that means up 3, left 1. So from my point, I'm going to go up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1, until I can't anymore. And now I've created my own line, okay? So we're going to do the exact same thing. But this time we are going to, do the exact same thing. So first thing we look for is our slope. Remember, our slope is right next to the parentheses, so negative 2 is my slope. The coordinate is whatever's next to x and y. We'll do x first. If I see negative 2, then I pull out the opposite, so that means positive 2. If I see positive 3, I pull out the opposite, which means negative 3. Okay, so opposite. So I start at my coordinate, 2, negative 3. That means right 2, down 3. That's where I start. Then I graph by using my slope. Since negative 2, we need to make it a fraction, so we put it over 1. And this means down 2, right 1 from this point. So down 2, right 1. I can't go anymore, so I'm going to go up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, and I've created a perfectly straight line, and there's my graph. We're going to do the exact same thing for number 3. First, we identify our slope. So our slope is whatever's next to the parentheses, so 3. My coordinate is next to x and y, but we do x first. Since x is positive 3, the opposite of that is minus 3. And since y is negative 1, the opposite of that is positive 1. Then we go to graph that. It's left 3, up 1. So we graph that first. Then we complete the rest of the graph by following the slope. Since my slope is 3, we make it a fraction by putting it over 1. And then we are going to do rise over run. So it's up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1, and I kind of end up off the graph. But then I want to go the opposite direction, so that's down 3, left 1, down 3, left 1, until I can't anymore. If I've created a perfectly straight line, then I went in the correct direction, and there's your graph.